Minnesota Vikings head down to Miami for week 6 for a big matchup against the Dolphins. We'll break down that game right after this. A surprisingly tough draw for the Minnesota Vikings in week 6 became a little bit easier with the quarterback concerns over in Miami. Obviously, we all know the situation with Tua. I think because of that, they're being a little more cautious with Teddy. So, I mean, it sounds like Teddy's going to be the backup in this game, but the Minnesota Vikings are going to go against Skylar Thompson, rookie quarterback. Obviously, our record against quarterbacks that we should beat isn't great.
Especially lately.
I know in the past, we always think, oh, good backup quarterbacks. They always seem to have a solid game against us. And so far this year, there have been some rookies that have shined. Bailey Zappi for the New England Patriots has looked pretty solid this year. So Kenny Pickett's been up and down, of course. But Skylar Thompson, the guy, he's got the keys to a Ferrari with this offense. There's a ton in this Miami offense to like. Defensively, they do present some challenges for the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, his last week, allowing the Jets to put up 40 points on them is good. It's a good feeling knowing that their defense is beatable. But either way, it's a road game. Haven't had to play a true road game yet where you're actually in. I mean, other than Philadelphia, and that one didn't go well. So we'll see. Miami presents a tough challenge. Passionate fan base there. Weather-wise, it's going to be different. Humidity, heat. I know Kevin O'Connell mentioned that the medical staff is, preparing the players for what they might have to see. Probably gonna have a lot of water, some IVs being pumped. But yeah, it's a big game. Minnesota Vikings week 4 the bye. I know you're playing a third string quarterback. Kind of seems like a trap game, but man, if they can win this one, get to be 5-1 before the bye, it'd be huge.
Yeah, it would be huge. 5-1 before the. We got pretty lucky having to play against a third string quarterback in this game where Miami, up until this point, we've been talking about every week about, this game against Miami before the bye, Now we have a game that we honestly should win against a third string quarterback. And like you said, we should be doing better against these quarterbacks. And I'm going to emphasize this. We're going to dig into it a little bit deeper soon here, but we need to get to him. We need to get to the quarterback against. That's what we said against Andy Dalton. We didn't really do it, and we should have against Justin Fields, a guy that we should have definitely had like 4 sacks or something, and we just didn't get to him as much as we thought. And now even more than ever, especially against, well, I won't go too far into it because we're about to in like a second here, but it's just, this is a game we should absolutely win now, I think, and we should go into this by 5-1. And I mean, that'd be huge, but I'm hoping we still see a game where, since we're supposed to win, I'm still looking for that game, that blowout game. We didn't see it with Chicago. We were close, but it didn't happen after the second half. And against, if the Jets can blow out a team like Miami right now, I don't see why we can't.
But because we're the Vikings, and we won't.
Because we're the Vikings, but we still might. I still think we will. Anyway, this is going to be the game. This is going to be a game. But let's dive into more stuff, deeper into the pass rush and everything. But before we do that, I want to thank everybody for watching GG Sports podcast of Minnesota Vikings. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, get notifications for more of our videos. Let's pop it up here.
Yeah. So first big matchup that I'm watching out for is our pass rush led by Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith against Skylar Thompson. With rookie quarterbacks, that's always the big thing. Put pressure on them, force them into making some mistakes. This last week, I believe he did toss up an interception. Skylar Thompson was 19 of 33, 166 yards, and that one interception. Took 2 sacks, 29.4 quarterback rating. So yeah, that's going to be a big thing with this game. Now I know what the thought process is going to be. We're probably going to play that shell coverage and probably say, oh, we're going to force him to beat us. But with the receiver that this team has, which we'll get into later, you can't do that. So, but the biggest thing that needs to happen is I want to see this pass rush get home. It's been rough. We haven't been able to get there with 4 very often. Obviously, Danielle Hunter finally got himself up off the mat with his 2nd sack last week. But man, I think that's got to be an emphasis, is just get pressure. Don't sit there and let him dink and dime across the field. You got to get pressure on him, force the young kid into some mistakes, toss it up, and have our corners, which we'll get into later, make some plays. But that's going to be big. That's the big thing I want. I want Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith and whoever else to get pressure.
Yeah, it's the most important thing in this game. And this is literally the 3rd week in a row that we've said it, that everybody says it, because it's 100% True. That's what we have to do. You're against a third string quarterback. It's like each week, the quarterback we're against, it makes even more sense to get to him and cause pressure. And this one is like, it's the most obvious out of all three of them, surprisingly. And we have to force him to make mistakes, and not just because it's not only because he's the third string quarterback. It's also because the Dolphins have a 45, what is it? They have a 45.5 pass blocking grade. So their offensive line has not been very good at pass blocking on its own. So just because of that, we should be able to get to the quarterback. And if we don't this week, man, I don't know. It's just um what's his name? Donatel he just has to figure something. We need to change something. We need to get to the quarterback. We can't make it we can't rely on, even though I love Cam Dantzler and how he's stepped up, and I love how Patrick Peterson's kind of been pretty solid since the beginning of the season. We can't give Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle too much time.
Right.
It's another week where it's just so obvious. You get to the quarterback, you put pressure on, and I think we stop that offense. But
Yeah. I would sure hope so. Speaking of offense, let's get into our offense a little bit here. Big matchup
yeah,
I'm looking out for: Justin Jefferson versus Xavier Howard. If looking at the receiving numbers from the Jets last week, they're a little bit inflated. Brees Hall had 2 catches for 100 yards. He had that one long 79-yard catch. Outside of that, though, Corey Davis 2 catches 38 yards. Garrett Wilson 3 catches 27 yards. Uzuma 2 catches 12 yards. No touchdowns between any of them. The only touchdowns they had were all rushing touchdowns. 5 rushing touchdowns, actually. It's pretty crazy. So,
mhm.
I mean, it's Justin Jefferson. He's been, obviously, these last 2 weeks, he's been huge. He leads the league in receiving right now. Surprisingly, though, you look at those numbers and looking at PFF here, coverage grade wise for the Dolphins hasn't been great.
44.1.
Yeah, it's surprising, especially when you look at those numbers from last week. But I mean, I think Xavier Howard's a great cornerback, so I think this will be a really interesting matchup to watch. And hopefully, Justin Jefferson doesn't come out and have a week 2, week 3 performance. I want to see him be having more of what he had the last couple of weeks, and I think he will. I think he's going to step up. I think he's going to keep his hot streak going. This offense is starting to learn what they need, how to
Mm-hmm.
play. But yeah, this presents a really interesting matchup, and I'm sure he's going to draw one-on-one coverage with him a lot, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think our offense works out really well against their defense. Like you said, their pressure or their coverage grade is 44.1, which is not good. And Kirk Cousins is looking more and more confident ever since that Eagles game. And KOC's play calling is a lot better. And even against a guy like Xavier Howard, he also so far this season has a 51.1 PFF grade. So he's not playing to the best of his ability yet either. And I think we can, especially with Justin Jefferson, he's our main wide receiver. And it's not even just him. We should be able to see that from, because their run defense is pretty good. So is that might be an area where we don't see Delvin Cook go off as much as we'd like to, but maybe in the passing game we see more from him. And then, of course, Adam Thielen and KJ Osborne, and Irv Smith is slowly getting more and more consistent with his pass catching, and he's looking a little bit better. So I just think our wide receivers as a whole, we should take advantage of them again with Kirk Cousins' confidence and with KOC's play calling. And I don't see why we can't at least have another shot at a game where we can be consistent offensively for the entire game. I think this is a game that should happen.
Yeah.
And against a third string quarterback in the pass rush, I don't see, this is a game we should win. But yeah.
Right, for sure. But there might be some opportunity for Delvin there as well. Obviously, last week, Brees Hall, 18 carries, 97 yards, and a touchdown. So, and Delvin was good last week too. What, he had
Right,
96
right.
yards and 2 touchdowns. So maybe might be a good chance for him to have a good week this week.
And if it
Time will tell.
if Justin Jefferson is going off, and if our offense is doing what it did earlier last week, especially in the passing game, of course it's going to open up a lot more for Delvin Cook, and that's why we needed this balance, and that's what's so nice about going through the season. It seems like we just couldn't figure that balance out earlier in the season, but last game we started to, and I think we're starting to figure out just how often to get it to Justin Jefferson and then when to run. And I think KOC is slowing down for him a little bit, where he's calling the right plays at the right time and using Justin Jefferson to open up the run game, and using the other wide receivers to open up Justin Jefferson, and Justin Jefferson to open up the wide receivers. You're seeing that all happen. And especially KOC is using more and more trick plays, more cool plays like that. So I just think this is going to be a big offensive game. I mean, if the Jets can drop 40 on your head, I think we can.
Right.
I don't know what my score prediction will be yet, but I think we can. And we've seen the Ravens drop a ton of points on them, even though they came back. And people are dropping points on them. So
For sure, yeah. But a big thing that you got to worry about with them, speaking of offense, is their offense too. I
yeah.
know they got the rookie quarterback, but it helps a rookie quarterback when you're throwing the ball to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I mean, obviously, I know they're both dinged up a little bit. I think Tyreek Hill's in a walking boot this last week. It sounds like he will play. Jalen Waddle, like I said, has been dinged up a little bit. But man, when these two are on, they're a
Mm-hmm.
top 5, top 3 wide receiver duo in the league. Obviously, the rookie quarterback hurts a little bit, but as we talked about with that pass, with the getting some pass rush on him, make him toss it up. Cam Dantzler, Patrick Peterson, be big weeks for them. Cam Dantzler had the game winning play last week, ripping the ball out of Amir Smith-Marsette's hands.
Mm-hmm.
It's been kind of up and down for these two. Cam Dantzler, I feel like, has been the more consistent of the two. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do if either of them get one-on-ones with either of these guys. I don't know if they're going to do more of I don't know what they're going to end up doing. But you can't, these are two where you can't give them 10 yards of space at the line of scrimmage because they're both going to make you pay if you do that. That's the thing. Some receivers, yeah, you can kind of dink and, allow and dink and dunk it. But if Tyreek Hill gets the ball in his
Not him.
hands at all, watch out because he's so fast. He'll beat you. Jalen Waddle can do the same thing. So
Right. Right.
I don't know. I'm curious to see how Donatello is going to play defense here. You might need to ditch what you've been doing the last couple weeks and go to be, more aggressive, jam them up at the line. You can't give them cushion. That's the biggest thing because they
Right.
will kill you, especially the rookie quarterback. He's looking for that. He wants those easy dink and dunk passes. So watch out
Right.
for that.
Yeah, I mean, of course, with Tyreek Hill, you and Jalen Waddle, you do have to look. That's why they're so hard. You have to look. You have to worry about the deep throws. So you do have to worry about that a little bit. But Tyreek Hill is going to be the guy who's going to get like 6 catches, at the line of scrimmage or like right before the line of scrimmage, and he's going to try to beat you with his legs, and it's going to be the biggest test. And like you said, getting to the quarterback in this game, it's going to be our biggest way to stop Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle this year. We can't just rely on giving the quarterback all the time in the world so they can get a chance to get open. They're too fast. Even a guy like Cam Dantzler and Patrick Peterson, I can't imagine they'll be able to stay on these players for too long. You just got to create that pressure.
For sure. And I mean,
But
and
yeah,
then looking at our defense versus their offense too. Their offense last week, Raheem Mostert had a breakout game. And I always liked Raheem Mostert when he played with San Francisco. The injuries
mhm,
popped up, but
right.
when he's healthy, he's a really solid back. 18 carries, 113 yards, and a touchdown last week. Obviously, Chase Edmonds, they got him in the pass game. I don't think he did much last week. 0 catches on 2 targets, but he is a threat out of the backfield for them. So there, and our run defense, it's been pretty weak. We allowed David Montgomery to have a rushing touchdown last week. If it wasn't
Mhm,
for a block in the back by Amir Smith-Marset,
right, right.
Justin Fields would have had a huge rushing touchdown, which would have changed that game. So our defense needs to step up against this offense. There's a lot of talent.
Yeah.
And yes, I know a third string quarterback, but like I said, we've seen third string quarterbacks rookies do things this year with like Bailey Zappi. So
Well, especially when we're
and
giving them
it's
so
our
much
history too.
time.
So exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
you got to get pressure on him. Any NFL quarterback with time, because I mean, yeah, he's a rookie, but he's in the NFL. Anybody who
Right,
can get
right.
time will be able to make a throw.
Especially
So
when you have players like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on your team and Gesicki, and you got Mostert and Chase Edmonds both can catch passes themselves, especially Chase Edmonds. So you do have to worry about that. And that's why I think there's going to be a lot of little short dump passes, and we're probably going to see the run game a lot. But I don't know, man. I just think, I don't know. It just really is going to come down to putting pressure on Skylar Thompson. And oh yeah, I was going to say that's another thing too. Is so far this season we've been allowing like a very high completion percentage, even against a guy like Justin Fields who went like 17 for 23 or something stupid like that. And we cannot let that happen with Skylar
yeah,
Thompson. There's no reason why he should be able to do this to have that. The pressure should be too hard. He should be missing these throws, unless he's throwing like 5 yards every single time. But if that's the case, I mean, that's all right, I guess. But
yeah,
just can't let
I
him
don't.
like that. Your
Yeah,
take of it.
it's a big matchup. Obviously, with Tua, this would be a much more dangerous offense. Even with Teddy, be much more dangerous. But
Right.
you can't discount it just because he's a young guy. There's too much talent on that offense, and defensively they do present challenges to us as well. So I don't know. I think it's going to be, even with the third string quarterback, I think it's going to be a lot closer than we want it to be. So let's jump into some score predictions here. What are your thoughts on this game? Do the Minnesota Vikings get to 5-1 before the bye week?
Yes, they definitely should. There's no question on paper because of the third string quarterback. It'd be way different if it's Tua playing, and way different if Teddy Bridgewater is playing. But because they have a third string quarterback in there, I think we definitely should win. We should be 5-1 going into the bye week, 100%. If I was going to give a score prediction, I'm going to say I think our offense is going to keep it rolling. I'm going to say 30 points we're going to score on offense, but I'm going to say it's going to come down to 24 on it's 24-30. We're going to win. I'm just going to say, instead of guessing, I'm going to hope that we just keep the lead the entire time and it doesn't turn into a thing where it's like a battle we're losing going into the fourth quarter or anything like that, because it should be a team that we should be able to beat up a little bit with them having the third string quarterback in there.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to go a little closer because that's just how we play these games. I'm going to go Minnesota Vikings 24, Miami Dolphins 20. I think it's just how this is. And like I said, until they show me that they're just going to step on a team's throat and blow them out, I'm not going to
Yeah.
predict it.
And,
So
and
yeah,
it comes from those.
I think 24-20 is a very fair score. Yeah, I want to, like I want to see Kirk just keep doing what he's been doing. We haven't talked about him yet this episode. We talked about him a little bit, but I want to see him just keep balling out, play with some confidence. I mean, yeah, I know he's had some throws that were off, but overall, I think he's played well enough. I think he's played really well, actually. I think we're seeing
Right.
a lot of that leadership from him finally. I know he talked about this week. He wants to use his legs more. He said, I think I'm more athletic than people give me credit for. So let's make some design runs. Let's see Kirk get out of the pocket, run around a little bit. Some of the plays, like when he gets out of the pocket, the guy can make some throws. When he does like that boot out to the left,
Right.
he can make throws, and I want to see him take some more deep shots with those. I know last week he had a couple where he kind of checked the ball down, which might have been the play design, but I want to see him just take a couple deep shots to JJ in this. It'll be interesting, but yeah, I
Yeah,
want to
that's
see
what
Kirk keep it up.
I want to see, the deep shots. Like even last week, he did play so well. He had that one interception that was a terrible interception, but I even talked about in that video, the last video on the review of that game, is there was something about him going for the bigger play that I did like, even though it was a bad idea in that
Yeah.
in that area. But I like that he's trying to do that, because that just shows me confidence from him, and it's literally the thing that makes me. It's like the thing that he misses the most to me is that he doesn't get to the big plays. And at least this year and part of last year, you don't really see him to do it until the end of the game. So I want to see that early. I want to see it in the middle of the game. It'd be nice to see an offensive performance that we don't really slow down, especially when you do have Justin Jefferson on your team. And yeah, I think we're going to see that confidence still in Kirk Cousins. And I do think you're going to see some more plays like that. So that's one thing. We haven't really seen have we seen a big touchdown yet? Like a long touchdown at all from
I
anybody on
don't
our team yet this
I
year?
don't think so. No, we've had big plays that got us
We've
close,
had
but
big
yeah, I don't think we've
plays.
had a big
Like a big touchdown,
yeah,
like no
I don't think
breakout
so. No,
runs by Delvin Cook. He's
no,
close. He's close.
yeah,
That's one thing too. You could probably say Delvin. I wouldn't be surprised if Delvin Cook breaks one this game. He is so close to breaking one. It's last game. There's like probably 4 chances where it was like one guy who grabbed his foot.
yeah,
So I would like to see that. I want to see a big play. I don't even care if they're just wide open, whatever. Let's see one big play down the field.
yeah. I'd be down.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we both predict the Minnesota Vikings get to 5-1. We want to know what you guys think. Let us know down in the comments if the Vikings get to 5-1 and your thoughts. Like the video. We'll see you guys next time on GG Sports Podcast.
Skol Vikes.